to the gaggle. Questions? Yes, Larry.
Airport question regarding the Newark runway. I was curious about what is going to be the impact on travelers and flyers, and what is, if any, impact there will be on, as far as noise or neighbors around the airport if flight patterns are changed.
Why don't we grab the subject matter expert, Huntley, on that one. So, Larry, you saw the walkthrough that this is going to start presumably in the first quarter. Oh, you came late?
I got here late, so I missed the presentation.
Yeah, so one of the public, hey, Huntley, come on up. One of the public questions that the commissioner had asked Huntley was, look, this is slated for 2021. Presumably 3 or 4 quarters of the year will be occupied. We really drilled down in terms of what the impact is going to be operationally. And then Huntley walked us through, he's going to be working with the FAA to really minimize the impact, whether it's working at night, working on weekends, staging in a manner where you really reduce the disruption for the travelers. Having said that, Huntley, you want to elaborate on your response to both to us in executive and during the public meeting today?
No, certainly our focus is going to be to minimize the duration of any closures for runway 4 right at Newark. And primarily, we're going to be looking at opportunities to close the runway at night and on weekends to the extent practical when passenger traffic and aircraft traffic is not as high as it would normally be on Monday through Friday. And obviously, we're going to make sure we want to stay away from peak travel periods like Christmas and Thanksgiving. But that being said, we're looking at different options for night and weekend work, but also what we can do with a continuous closure. Because for a bulk of the work, certainly the paving work, you're going to need some type of a continuous closure. Do we do it in one particular stretch, or whether we do it in 2 stretches, one in the spring and potentially one in the fall, where we would actually get the work completed prior to the holiday. So we're looking at those options. We haven't made any decisions yet, because the most important thing is to really engage stakeholders like the airlines and the FAA to make sure we get this right.
And before that decision is made, Larry, he's going to come back and brief the board as to the level of disruption and obviously trying to eliminate as much disruption as possible.
And so what we generally do, just as a matter of practice, as we look at our options for closing a runway for this type of work, we will do some modeling and analysis to look at potential delay impacts and ways in which we can mitigate any impacts that the traveling public.
Any follow-up on that, Larry?
Well, the follow-up is, I think it was projects in 2012 and 2014 required some flight pattern changes, routed flights over Staten Island, Jersey City, and Bayonne. Is that on the table for this?
I mean, obviously, we're going to have to look at all options. And again, it's important to engage stakeholders, including the community. We actually think there could be some approaches that actually take you closer to the facility as opposed to going to Staten Island. But there are going to be several different approaches to the runway. Increased utilization of runway 1129, which is a crosswind runway that we're going to consider as well. But we're looking at all options. And I was there during those closures back in 2012 and 2014 as we looked at options for the airport.
So basically, this is something that won't impact travelers until 2021.
First quarter 2021.
First quarter, starting in 2021, the extent of which we'll have to figure out whether it's going to be through short extended closures and weekend and night closures.
Yes, question?
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of emails, and I'm sure you have as well, from people concerned about the carpool discount program that's ending. Some New Jersey lawmakers have said that they are looking into it and want to talk to you all about this. Have you heard from them, and is there any chance of that program being salvaged?
Well, we talked to the Governor Murphy's staff last meeting. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you were here, where there was some engagement about what we can do, what we can't do in terms of continuing with the carpool discount. The reality is that the technology is not to the extent that we can kind of move along with the car discount without having, a disruption, so to speak. So if there's technology that allows us to continue this discount that does not cause a bottleneck and back up, we'll be open to it. But we're moving ahead with the projected, doing away with the discount and doing away with cashless. We're going cashless tolls eventually in the future.
So as you move into cashless tolling, is that going to be a discussion with those technology providers who may or may not be able to capture
Yeah, I think we should, if the technology catches up and we can capture that, we're going to engage in conversations that if it allows it and does not cause a disruption, then we'll have those discussions. But I just can't predict what the technology is going to be in the next 6 months, 6 years. Okay? Appreciate your question, though. Anybody else? Larry?
The XPL, there was going to be an agenda item about a pilot project for, I guess it would be bus platooning that's been spoken about in the past to try to increase capacity. What's happened to that?
Well, what is proposed, look, big picture, we're committed to being at the forefront of the use of technology to improve how our facilities operate. This is one piece of that commitment. What is under discussion is a technology development program. It is not a pilot program. In terms of the operation of buses, we're not replacing drivers. What we're trying to create is computerized assistance, but it's based on autonomous vehicle technology, which would enable buses to be more closely spaced in the XBL, which would enable them to the driver to steer more precisely, to avoid fender benders, to avoid accidents, to avoid collisions with lane markers. It also holds the possibility of improving the efficiency of the bus station of the bus terminal operation itself, because it would allow drivers more precisely to pull into and pull out of gates, all of which would be advantages from the point of view of the volume of buses that go through the Lincoln Tunnel and have to go in and out of the terminal. This is the first step in a process. From the point of view of using technology, the first step you have to do is to see that the development, that the technology is developed for the application you want it for. That is what, we have two competing firms. They each think they have technology that could evolve to achieve the objectives that we're interested in, that I've just talked about. Our TB&T division is interested in working with both of them. The goal is to identify what each of the technologies has to offer in 2021. It has to be done in close coordination and close consultation with the bus carriers, because it would require cooperation. And that's where we are, which is we're taking the first step. What we'd love to do is wind up with a way that we can increase the throughput on the Lincoln Tunnel, we can reduce accidents, we can improve the efficiency of operations, and that's what it's all about.
Is there something like this that exists now anywhere in the country, or is this going to be basically a prototype?
Well, we are trying to push technology. We actually don't know of any place where this kind of technology development is being advanced, and our goal is to be at the forefront and to really develop, as I say, in consultation with the bus carriers, obviously in consultation with New Jersey Transit, with the other bus carriers, in consultation with all of the relevant agencies on both of the New York side and the New Jersey side. So this is an effort to move the technology development forward, and then see if we can develop an application that all parties would be interested in moving forward.
Now, would this require what kind of retrofitting for buses? Because NJ Transit is in the middle of a large cruiser bus procurement. They're about 50% through. Would you have to wait until the next generation of buses, or?
Well, the fact is, we can't get ahead of ourselves. We're at the proof of concept phase. So it's one of those, the train is moving, the bus is moving, the bicycle is moving, and can't stop people from doing the business they have to do. So when we get to the point where we think we have a technology, we think we have an application, we think it's practicable, we think it's safe, that's the point at which people have to make decisions as to what the transition to embracing it is. And what we want to do is stay in touch with all of the relevant players, and that's what we'll do.
Got it. Good stuff. Anything else?
Yeah, one other thing. I was just going through the 2020 proposed budget, and I noticed that the capital expenditures in the ports is going down significantly from what it had been, something around 163 million down to 50 million. I just wanted to know why, that is happening.
Maybe Libby?
Libby, want to come? But what I would say is, capital spending goes up and down depending on the projects. We're just coming out of a major capital commitment in terms of improving the rail capacity of the port, which is turning out to be an extraordinary success story. And what's an active discussion with the port is what is the next set of capital expenditures. Remember, this is a spending budget in terms of, which means the capital plan is the capital plan, which is looking at a 10-year period. Then that gets spent year by year. So the ups and downs in terms of the annual spending really doesn't necessarily correlate with what's in the capital plan. The capital plan is the strategic commitment of funds. The annual spending program is just what projects are underway and what is the actual construction spending during that year.
Libby, anything you want to add to that?
I would just add the total program for the ports is roughly $1 billion, and we're just in a cycle of completing a major program, and then we'll be cycling up into the next big pieces. Yeah.
Okay, good question, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thanks all. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Good news.